Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to my channel. I think the last video inside my 1099 career series, we left off at me securing my first 6-month 1099 locum contract. I think that's where we left off at. That's where we'll begin. So I secured my first 1099 contract in primary care. No experience, no previous experience in primary care whatsoever. At all. So it was already a learning curve for me. So I'm just used to patients coming in for a sick visit, managing their care, what's going on right then and there, and deciding if they need to follow up with their primary care doctor or follow up in an emergency room. That's the gist of urgent care, right? That's what I'm used to. So to go from working only 4 months in urgent care to now being in primary care, it definitely was a learning curve. I definitely had some sick visits that come in, but I also was actually managing patient care on a different level. So if a person came in with type 2 diabetes or was their hemoglobin A1C was out the roof, am I going to start them automatically on an insulin scale versus giving them metformin, which I wouldn't do that anyways, but just the management of care that I don't see in urgent care was something that I now had to take upon. So Steve, who was my mentor, who was my friend, I was able to shadow him. And how it works when it comes to locums specifically, it's not that much of a process of training. So if you get a locum job as a new grad, consider yourself lucky because literally it is expected for you to come into these roles and start working right away, get the ball rolling. The reason why a lot of agencies hire locums is because they want to be able to see more patients, or they probably just opened up a new clinic, or the demand is higher than the providers that are there. So for you to come in and have to be trained is not something that they ideally want. So for me to come into this primary care setting to have to be trained, thankfully, Steve was able to train me. So I was building up my patient panel slowly. So when I first came on, I started with 1 patient, then I went on and got 2 to 3 patients a day, and then by 2 weeks, I had a full patient panel. I had some shadow experience with Steve. I also shadowed a locum doctor who gave me the ins and outs on my career. Because remember, I don't know anything at this time about being a 1099 contractor. I only know the freedom, the flexibility that comes with it, but I don't know the ins and outs, the contracts, like what to look at your contract, what not to look at, what to see in your contract, what to not see in the contract, what to negotiate. I don't know any of those things. So meanwhile, while Steve was teaching me the primary care side of things, Christina, who was the locum doctor that was working there, she was teaching me what I needed to know about being a locum. Like literally, I just got into the role. I was like, oh my God, like, what am I doing? Oh, what am I doing? So I learned a lot on that contract. And I was able to see patients and simultaneously learn. And that's what I loved about it. But the thing that really turned things for me was how to manage my finances when it came to being a 1099 contractor. So I already mastered the clinical side, right? The skills, pivoting into primary care. But what I didn't manage was my contracts. Like when I got the money, what do I do with the money? Because I came from a W-2 background. I came from school, which school told me to, work and get a job. And most jobs were W-2 at that time. I feel like there's a lot more 1099 contracts now, whether it's locum tenens, whether it's working directly with the hospital or clinic, whether it's telehealth. I feel like there's a lot more now compared to before, okay? So before, when I was getting my money, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was just spending the entire amount like it was mine. That's it. I was spending the entire amount like it was mine. I didn't realize that 1099 contracting is a form of a business. It is actually a business, right? It's just literally contracting your services with the clinical organization. And that's literally what it is. You guys negotiate a rate that works best. You come in, you do your job, you get paid weekly. And that, I feel like, was the biggest downfall I had of my career. But it was also the biggest blessing because God put me in a position to speak to others who are taking this route. So here I am, and I want to say I started towards the later end of 2019 because I started working at my urgent care job July 2019. 4 months later, October 2019, I quit that job. And then 2 weeks later, I started my first locum job. So I had the later half of the year as an untaxed professional. And then because that was like what I was doing moving forward, the whole year of 2020, I was a 1099 contractor as well. Needless to say, because I didn't know the financial component of 1099 contracting, guess what happened? I ended up owing $30,000 in taxes. And it's not like I didn't have a CPA. Actually, prior to being a 1099 contractor, when I was telling my uncle about how I'm getting paid it was my uncle that is a family CPA. When I was telling my uncle about how I get paid as a provider, he told me that I shouldn't do that route. He told me that you shouldn't do it, like it's risky, like, you know, he was telling me all of these things that kind of tried to steer me away from doing 1099 contracting. And so I got a little bit nervous at first because I'm like, well, all I know in my life is that I get paid every 2 weeks, taxes are being taken out, I get a little bit of benefits from my W-2 job, and that's it. I didn't know anything else past that. So to go from not listening to his advice to getting into this contracting role, and then I seeked out another CPA that I thought knew about 1099 contracts or just knew about how to manage your untaxed income. And I remember that CPA was just like, well, how many business expenses do you have? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, you're the CPA, you tell me. Like, I don't know. And I put none. I said none, I don't have any. And that led to me owing $30,000 in taxes. From that point, I kid you not, guys, from that point, I said to myself, Ebony, if you are literally going to take this path full time as a 1099 contractor, you have to understand your money yourself. Nobody is gonna understand your money better than you understand your money, okay? So I was like, all right, let's start over from scratch. There is a way why all of these rich people are making so much money and paying at least 10% back in taxes. Like, one of the things we can't control is death and taxes. We cannot control taxes, but we can design a career where we don't always have to pay the IRS first. And so when you're a W-2 employee, you're paying the IRS first. If you look at your paycheck, every single paycheck, you're paying the IRS something first. I wanted to design a career where I can decide how much I should pay the IRS based on everything that I do before giving the IRS my money, okay? And it's totally legal. This is how the rich people operate. If you want to build wealth in America, you need to learn how money works. Money is gonna come and go. You need to understand how money works and where to place that money. But of course, in 2019, I didn't know that, right? So I took on several different types of contracts. I worked in California. I loved California. I worked in San Jose. I worked in other locations in California. I worked in Seattle, and I worked in New York. I also worked in DC as well. Loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. As I was working, I was learning, understanding how my finances work and what I should do when I make 5K, when I make 10K, when I make 15K, when I make 20K, just understanding what to really do with my income. Once I mastered understanding my income, that's when I vetted another CPA that knew exactly what my profession is about. So there's a difference between just having a CPA and knowing a CPA that understands your profession. That if you're like, listen, I need this, I think this is a write-off because this is what I'm doing for this, and they agree or they understand what that looks like for you, that's the type of CPA that you want to keep by your side, right? I deal with a lot of people, a lot of professionals, because you know I do coaching. So a lot of healthcare professionals that have CPAs and their CPAs are no good CPA. In this line of contracting, you cannot be using TurboTax. You cannot be using Liberty Tax. You cannot be using these local tax places or things like that. You need a tax strategist. You need somebody that to be by your side, that as your income grows, they tell you what to do to reduce your taxable income. But you yourself need to be organized, completely organized. The level of organization you need to have, you need to think about what it looks like with you as an employee and also what it's going to look like with you as now a business owner. The same thing your job was providing you is what you need to provide yourself as now an employee of the business that you create, okay? When I first started contracting, I did not have a business entity. Everything, my personal, my business expenses were all intertwined together. It was a hot mess, literally. Everything was just all together and I was just selling myself, or I was just using the money like it was like nothing. Like, I don't even know what to really say. Like, it was definitely a mess. That's all I have to say. It was a mess. I was in a hot mess. And as of March of 2026, that $30,000 has been paid, honey. Paid off, okay? Needless to say, if I have to leave you guys with advice when it comes to 1099 contracting, is the following. Make sure you vet a CPA that knows exactly what they're doing, that knows how you operate as a 1099 contractor, so that they can assist you with meaningful deductions or best ways to grow your wealth. Number 2, create a system that works for you. I do have a 1099 contractor dashboard. Love this dashboard, okay? Because the dashboard literally highlights everything you need to give to your CPA, okay? And it eliminates the extra expenses that would come with hiring a bookkeeper. It eliminates bookkeeping fees. It eliminates all of that stuff and gets straight to the point. This is how you upload your income. This generates profit and loss. This generates your bookkeeping. This is the link you send to your CPA, and that is it. Nothing more, nothing less, not so heavy expenses. I literally have been using this because it has been a game changer for me. So I'm gonna make sure I tag the link down in the description box below so you guys can get that, especially if you are a contractor right now and you're just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what, like, every tax season feels heavy for me. This tool is going to help you tremendously, okay? Another thing that I would say is make sure you keep yourself organized when it comes to your contracts. The last thing you want is when tax season comes, you're scrambling through all of your 1099s, okay? Like, did I work here? Because there's contracts that I honestly do right now where I work one day and that's it. Just get paid for that one day and you never see me back at that contract again. Or I work a few shifts a month, or it could be a 3-month contract. In the next video, we're gonna go into the different types of contracts you can work. Definitely wanna highlight that for you guys so you know exactly the types of contracts you can take as a contractor that's going to accelerate your career. And the last thing I wanna say in this video is set out your goal. What is your goal? Is your goal just to work contracts, or is your goal to use those contracts to start a business, or is your goal to use those contracts to travel the world, use those contracts to be able to make more money in a shorter amount of time and take time off and travel the world? What is the goal for you when you're working contracts, okay? Because this is not just, oh, I'm just working a 3-month contract, or I'm just working a few shifts a month, but I want to keep my full-time job. My career has literally transformed to me loving my career more because I'm able to pour into my own cup, and the level of freedom that I have that's not chained to an employer allows me now to be able to pour into my patients and what they need in the right way. So for me, that meant like taking a break. Sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes all you need is a break, okay? Taking that break and then refilling your own cup, coming back to refill others' cup, that's the only way that you're gonna make sure mentally you're okay. So I hope this video helped you a lot. Like I mentioned, in the next video, we're gonna talk about the different types of contracts you can work as a 1099 contractor so that you can leverage your degree to make a ton of money, okay? And not having to tune into anybody's time but yourself. So you guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you really love this video, give it a thumbs up so that it can be shared with other people who actually need this right now. Everything that I'm going to provide to you is going to be in the description box below. So make sure you check out the description box to see what applies to you, what you need right now in your career journey. I am happy to help you. I am happy to pour into you. I am happy to help you be the best version of yourself in your profession and outside of your profession. So let's get into it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video.